2024 VLBC pre-session press conference. Probably the coolest one that I've been to thus far. A lot for us to be grateful for, a lot for us to be thankful for as we enter into the 24th session. We were at an event the other night, and it was awesome to point out that in 2021, we lost a number of our members. And we are so grateful that all but Ross Tyler are back, they're back with us today. And so welcoming back LaSharice Ayer, welcoming back Joshua Cole, Alex Askew, and the Darius did a brief retirement, I think it's number one. So also welcoming back the Darius, and Jennifer Pelford. So thank you all again for joining us. We have a lot to talk about. We won't get it all in, but you also can go to theblbc.com to see more about our legislative agenda. And we'll sort of drip a little bit as session progresses. And we will have more press conferences. And so without further ado, I guess we'll start with, we've been moving this around a little bit. But I want to start with our former executive director, Adele McClure. And she'll talk a bit about housing.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
This is weird.
Usually I'm the one putting this together, and y'all have all heard from me. So really, really honored to be here with y'all. So good morning. I'm Delegate-elect Adele McClure, and I represent the 2nd House District in Arlington. So I'm here this morning to speak about the housing portion of our legislative agenda and our shared vision as a caucus. This issue is deeply personal to present and past members of the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus, and an issue that everyone has faced or will face in their lifetime. And it disproportionately impacts Black and brown communities. I grew up experiencing homelessness, and my family and I knew firsthand what it was like to have housing instability and insecurity. We knew what that meant. Housing is at the center of everything. Without stability in housing, there's no stability in pursuing an education. Without stability in housing, it is nearly impossible to have job stability. Without stability in housing, it is difficult to achieve stability when it comes to mental and physical health. So we're not just speaking about something theoretical, we're speaking about something that we have lived, many members have lived, continue to live, and the folks in our community are living. So our legislative agenda is laser focused on making sure that Virginia's children can focus on school and childhood and not where they're going to lay their head at night. This agenda is centered around a very simple, very direct reality. We are facing multiple crises, and housing lies at the heart of that problem. So last year we were able to make significant progress with many housing bills becoming law. But now, with Democratic majorities in both chambers, the people of the Commonwealth have spoken, and we are called to do more, to seek justice and address the ongoing housing crisis. Housing is a fundamental human right. Too many Virginians across the Commonwealth are still struggling to pay their rent and mortgage, or purchase a home, or are facing eviction or experiencing homelessness, or are in need of safe, affordable, stable housing. So this year, the VLBC will champion and support legislation that will create a local option for rent stabilization and anti-price gouging for rent. We will increase the Virginia Eviction Reduction Fund, establish the Fund for the Virginia Housing Stability Fund for affordable housing and rental assistance, extend the pay or quit time from 5 to 14 days, create a pilot program for first-time low-income home buyers, and create a local authority to protect residents from slumlords and inhumane living conditions. And we will significantly expand renters' rights and protections. We're not just focused on protecting the laws that we fought so hard to pass in previous years. We're focused on passing bold, new legislation that increases funding for housing efforts, protects tenants from exploitation and retaliation, reins in slumlords, and much more. So with that, I thank you, and I'll pass it on to the next person. All right, the chairman has got me. All right, thank y'all.
next we will go to our secretary, and one of the things I want to point out before Angela Williams-Gray comes to speak about justice reform is that there are a number of things, again, that are on the VLBC.com that we won't get to today. I see a number of our friends from the environmental justice community. We won't talk a great deal about that today, but you all know that that is up near the top of our legislative agenda. And so don't be dismayed if you don't hear your legislation or your topic today. We just want to highlight a few of the things that we're going to be working on. So again, I give you, or I loan you, our Secretary Angela Williams-Gray. Senator-elect for another couple hours.
So good morning.
Good morning.
Criminal justice reform is not something new for the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus. Today is a historic day in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And as a member of the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus, it is not lost on me that we stand on the shoulders of giants who have paved the way for us to be able to occupy these seats in the halls of the Virginia General Assembly. As we move forward, the fight to dismantle and rebuild the criminal justice system continues. The Virginia Legislative Black Caucus has been at the forefront of justice reform work in the General Assembly for decades. Too many disparities still exist based on race, gender, and economic status. We continue to stand in support of comprehensive justice reform in order to deliver on the promise of liberty and justice for all people. This fight includes legislation that will champion mental health crisis protections, more community service work options to pay down court debt, reporting deaths of those who are in custody, fully legalizing cannabis, the fight to end the school to prison pipeline, to end fees during incarceration, and to reduce the amount of time that criminal court costs and fines can be collected. Make no mistake about it, the criminal justice system isn't broken. It's doing what it was designed to do. However, as members of the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus, we fully intend to dismantle and rebuild this system to be more humane and more just for all people. Thank you.
It's moving well enough pretty quickly. And on this side and that side, there's some seats over here if anybody wants a seat. But I also want to point out the fact that a number of our members aren't able to be with us because they have prior engagements. If anyone went to the prayer breakfast before this, they know that Mamie Locke was the MC for that event. And then, I don't know what my Don Scott is in here. Yeah, I guess he's too busy to speak. And Louise Lucas as well. So, a couple of these, I'm excited to introduce them. For this one, I'm really excited to introduce. Welcome back to our podium, LaSharisa Harris.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, everyone. As you know, Virginia is home to several richly diverse, historically Black colleges and universities. My alma mater, the Virginia State University, Hampton University, Norfolk State University, Virginia Union University, and also Virginia University of Lynchburg. These institutions have served as bedrocks of empowerment, providing a unique platform for marginalized communities to access higher education. They have been pivotal in fostering educational equity and nurturing diverse talent. However, some of these institutions in Virginia have faced chronic and historical underfunding, impeding their ability to grow at the rate of their competitors or better funded counterparts. And they've been plagued by inadequate resources for infrastructure development, faculty development, and program expansion. We have made some progress, led by the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus, but the persistent lack of sufficient funding has placed a disproportionate burden on our Black colleges and universities, hindering their potential to thrive and excel and nurture the talents of their institutions and, quite frankly, contribute in the ways they possibly can to the higher educational landscape. So this session, the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus will prioritize for these HBCUs, efforts led by our chairman, budget language to assess the historic underfunding of HBCUs. Delegate will have legislation that proposes a study and also expanding HBCU's representation on the SHEV board. And we'll have a number of members that prioritize capital investments at our HBCUs. You've read in the news a lot about this debate as to whether or not historical funding is a real thing. But let's be clear, equal is not equity. In this session, we will push to make sure our historically Black colleges and universities are funded at equitable levels. Thank you.
Thank you. I've lost count of the number of chairs that we will have for committees, but I guess most of you know that. But we will have 32 members. Like I said, I lost count of the chairs that we will have. But I do want to introduce one of the chairs, the chair of education in the House, Sam Rasool.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, everyone. Great to be with you. As many of you all, I was thoroughly underwhelmed by the governor's introduced budget on education. Not only did we not do enough to go forward, several steps were taken back. $300 million were cut from public education. The 2% raise only in the second year of the budget doesn't keep up with inflation. The inflation numbers that he is putting forward and that this administration is talking about, we worked really hard in a bipartisan way to increase funds for school construction. Those funds were all rated and used for something else, and all while to cut taxes mainly for the wealthy. Even, and I'm gonna quote this because I want to get it right, a Republican legislator has said, areas that help the governor get elected are being left on the side of the road. How off base are we when our own party, his own party, is saying that about the proposals that are being put forward? But again, the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus has been called to lead in a critical area, even though we shouldn't have to, in public education. Delegate Michael Fegans, right here, leading on student mental health, wanting to make sure that we finally reach the gold standard on our counselor ratio. Delegate Nadarius Clark, and this one you're going to make sure you give him a round of applause, is finally saying we're going to put a plan in place to pay our teachers at the national average. Senator Lucas, and that's here, and Senator Lucas is pushing to expand an innovative model that we already have here, but further deepening community schools where we have wraparound services on our campuses so that way our students get the help that they need. Senator Aird is tackling gun and gang violence that's happening through our schools with a new innovative initiative that we'll be partnering on called Community Builders, where we're trying to go into middle schools and work with the schools on an intensive summer school program to pool at-risk students. Delegate Michelle Maldonado is making sure that no one is left behind as we're becoming a rapidly more diverse Commonwealth. We are known as one of the states that has a very poor investment with regards to English language learners. And so she's pushing hard to make sure that we're putting in a new innovative model on to help fund ELL students. Delegate Ray Cousins, as many of you know, the JLARC recommendations that came out, JLARC has really said that a broad condemnation of how we fund public education is the only way to characterize it, with the dozens of policy recommendations, and one of them is needing to wholesale integrate and think through how we fund school divisions that have high number of at-risk students. And that was great work that was really pushed forward by then Delegate Aird, and now being carried forward by people like Delegate Ray Cousins. And Senator Locke pushing for more support in early childhood, taking care of our youngest and most precious students. A great philosopher, one James Baldwin, said, "The paradox of education is precisely this, that as one becomes more conscious, one begins to examine the society in which they are being educated. The VLBC is here to raise that consciousness." Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman. It's a pretty cool thing also that there's a lot of cool stuff going on. But we have a few committees that have been, since Fergie Reed and Doug Wilder, or members of the General Assembly, have been sort of the core committees that we have done our work. Education is one of them. But three of those committees, we actually have dynamic duos in right now. One committee is the money committees, where we have Lou Torrey as chair and Louise Lucas as chair. We're pretty proud of that. Governor Wilder, if you talk to him, always says, start with the money and follow it. Doesn't matter what the issue is, follow the money and stick with it. The other one is the Rules Committee, where we have Don Scott and Mamie Locke. Pretty proud of that. That committee has long been a committee where really meaningful things happen. And then the third one is one that we've been fighting like heck for years to make sure that our issues show up and we deliver. In the last few years, we've been able to deliver on those. There have been a lot of champions for those. The new Congresswoman Jennifer McClellan in the Senate led us on these issues as it relates to voting. Marcia Price led us in the House on those issues. And so this dynamic duo right here, my little brother Aaron Rouse, no, he doesn't like when I said it because he's he's senior to me, and that's kind of hard for me. But he really enjoys it. But it is this dynamic duo here will be leading the committee that I believe it all starts with. It all starts with access to the ballot box. And so I give you our former Vice Chair, Marcia Price.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And for those of you that don't know, the Privileges and Elections Committee is the longest continuously running committee in our entire nation's history. And so I will be the first Black woman to serve in this role, and that is quite an honor. So thank you, Mr. Chair. But good morning. On this historic day, as we will witness many firsts in leadership in both chambers, it reminds us how far we have come and what we have to celebrate. The House and the Senate will look more like Virginia this year, and we all know that representation matters. And it is not lost on us, as our Senator-elect had said, that there are a historic number of Virginia Legislative Black Caucus members, the historic number of women, the historic number of LGBTQIA members, and the work we will accomplish on the people's behalf is because we do in fact live in a democracy. And the strength and power of the people's voice starts at the ballot box. As we continue to embody the legacy of this organization, we will work to protect, enhance, and expand access to the ballot. As many of you know, our Commonwealth was previously ranked as the 48th state when it comes to ease of voting. Y'all, we were the second hardest state to vote in. The intentional barriers that were placed by those on the other side of the aisle targeted communities of color to try to suppress the vote. But in 2020 and 2021, as our chairman stated, many of us standing before you were at the forefront of the charge to pass legislation that made it easier and safer to vote. As last reported, we are now ranked as the 11th easiest state to vote in, with policies like early voting, voting by mail, the Voting Rights Act of Virginia, Sunday voting, Election Day as a state holiday, automatic voter restoration, same-day voter registration, same-day voter registration, curbside voting, and various forms of acceptable voter ID. We have heard from Democrats, independents, and Republicans thanking government for those policies to make it easier to vote, and we have seen historic turnout since those policies became law. However, it is not surprising, but it is immensely disappointing to already see legislation filed to claw back that progress and to decrease the access and recreate barriers to the ballot. And it is even after spending a ton of money on the Republican side to encourage their own voters to vote early that now we see legislation that would get away with doing away with vote by mail, that would shorten the amount of time that people have to vote early. So as I've said before, I wish my colleagues had the decency to be embarrassed by their flagrant hypocrisy, but it does not seem to be so. So as the incoming chair, Senator Rouse, and I of the Privileges and Elections Committees are ever cognizant of the importance of the work we will do, and we will have fair hearings on legislation, but we want to be clear. Any attempt to claw back the progress we have made on creating better access to the ballot will not be looked upon favorably. We acknowledge and understand that there are updates and changes needed, but they will be real solutions to real problems, and they will be voter focused. We look forward to legislation of our own and our own legislative priorities. We will work with registrars and elections officials to make sure that we never again face thousands of voters being illegally and unconstitutionally purged, especially during an election. And while we focus on the facts of voter suppression and not the delusions of voter fraud, we will work to keep our elections free and fair. Of course, Senator Locke will be continuing the work on the constitutional amendment to declare voting an express right and to create an automatic voter restoration process. And we'll be working together to strengthen voter and elections worker protections in the Voting Rights Act of Virginia. So while unfortunately we are continuing to have to fight this fight every year, we do stand ready and poised to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we will have our current vice chair to close us out on sharing, and that is Joshua G. Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, again, good morning, everyone. We are certainly excited. You have heard our agenda, just a slight part of our agenda, whether it's fighting to make sure we are protecting our democracy, fighting to make sure that people have access to homes, making sure that our students are receiving the quality education that they need, making sure that we are protecting our streets from gun violence. There is so much work that's left for us to do, and we are excited, and we are going to accomplish, and we are going to deliver. As I said a couple days ago, please let the governor know that we are on our way. The message has changed. We are not on our way. We are here, and we will deliver. Thank you so much, and we will, are we taking any questions, Mr. Chair?
Yes, I do want to, real quickly, Cece, if you would come up real quick. I'm calling her Cece because I want you all to know who Cece is, because you're going to be CC and CC a lot. And you will see CC everywhere. And so this is CC. She is joining us as an intern for the BLBC and will be helping us along the way. She's been spending a lot of time with Adele McClure, but she's also spending time with Keith Westbrook, who is going to be helping the BLBC as we move through this session. And I also wanted her to be able to get a picture with the members up here. So boom, there we are. She just recently graduated from UVA. Step away from Aaron. But with that, we will just take a couple questions. Good Lord, you were ready.
You've got an exceedingly diverse coalition here. Where are we on the stadium, y'all? Are you coordinated that together, or is this going to be a different?
Well, that's not a caucus priority, and it's not something we're going to. You shouldn't expect the caucus to be together one way or another on it. It's gonna be, I think, we're gonna be all over the place. You got regional regional issues and folks that actually, represent that area. We're gonna be all over the place. You're gonna have some of us that say, well, if you do it, make sure we get some money for our priorities as well. And so we're gonna be all over the place with that. And so, good question. But I don't have an answer. After Graham goes, I do want to start, and have everyone introduce themselves, starting with Michael. But go ahead,
I
Graham.
was just gonna ask, how receptive do you think Governor Youngkin is going to be to your priorities? And are there any areas in particular that you think you might be able to bring him on board with what you're pushing for?
Well, our spokesperson for that is Louise Lucas, not just. But I don't think he has much of a choice. We don't have much of a choice to work with him. He said that at the prayer breakfast, Speaker Scott said it last night, we have a duty to work with each other. And there's a lot of common ground for us to move into. And so I think there's some space for us to do a lot of good. And this group has never backed down, but I don't suspect that it's going to be an easy road, but we're prepared for the fight. Let's start with Michael. Just introduce yourself in the area, not the numbers, because these numbers are crazy.
Good morning, y'all. Delegate-elect Michael Fagans, House District 97, representing portions of Virginia Beach.
Good morning, I'm Karen Keys-Gamara, House District 7, which is most of Reston, parts of Oakton, and parts of Herndon.
Good morning, I'm Benita Anthony, House District 92, parts of Norfolk and Chesapeake.
Hi everyone, I'm Ray Cousins, delegate representing the 79th District, which is located here in Richmond.
Sam Russell.
Delegate Chardonnay Herring, Alexandria City, and parts of Harry's Carlton.
And the majority leader.
Destiny Levere Bowling, part of Henrico County.
Senator Aaron Rouse, City of Virginia.
Delegate Marcia Price, part of Newport News.
Delegate-elect, again, Joshua Cole, Greater Fredericksburg area.
Senator-elect Angela Williams Graves, representing the great city of Norfolk.
Delegate Cliff Hayes, representing the 91st District, Northern Chesapeake, portion of Portsmouth.
Delegate Jackie Glass, District 93, Central, parts of Norfolk.
I'm Delegate Deborah Berger, and I represent District 76, House District.
Delegate-elect Adele McClure, and I represent the 2nd House District, representing parts of Arlington.
LaSharice Aird, Senate District 13, and I represent all of Eastern Henrico, all of Collin City County, all of Sussex County, Surrey County, Crenshaw County, parts of Dinwiddie County, the city of Petersburg, and the city of Hopewell.
Ladarius Clark, House District 84, parts of Suffolk, Chesapeake, Alawite County, the city of Franklin.
I'm Katrina Paulson, I represent District 54, Charlottesville. It's a little bit out of Marlboro, but I'm in Charlottesville.
Delegate-elect Michael Jones, 77th District, Richmond and Chesapeake County.
Delegate-elect Alex Askew, parts of Norfolk and parts of Virginia Beach.
All right, and so I did make a little bit of a hiccup. I did not see Nadarius Clark come in, and Nadarius is going to talk to you just briefly about public safety. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I will be brief. Good morning, everyone. Well, again, my name is Ladarius Clark, representing District 84, and I'm thrilled to be here today to be standing with my colleagues of the VLDC on this historic day as we kick off this session. And I just wanted to highlight some of our priorities this year around public safety. First, we want to make sure that we are reinforcing responsible gun ownership. We want to make sure that we're looking at bills such as safe storage, trigger locks, and safety training legislation. We want to make sure that we're supporting our public safety workers, investing into our public safety so our Commonwealth can attract and retain great officers as well. We want to invest to ensure that those officers are receiving the training they need to face the many challenges of today to keep our communities safe. We want to invest in informed solutions, evidence-informed solutions to prevent and respond to gun violence. We want to make sure that we are investing in community-based violence intervention programs and also hospital-based violence intervention programs. We want to put hospitals and mental health facilities in the same posture as schools as it pertains to having guns on the premises. We want to establish the Firearm Violence Prevention and Intervention Center that the JMARC study of GVP gave to the Commonwealth. Also, we want to look at violence intervention Medicaid reimbursement programs. And lastly, we want to make sure in our Commonwealth, we have already lost around 1,200 souls last year. And we know that children now, the #1 cause of death are guns. So we want to make sure that we are investing in public education to make sure that our schools are safe from gun violence, and that we have the accountability measures as well, because we have seen on the news times and times again, sadly, that children are bringing firearms to schools, and we want to make sure that we can hold parents, the manufacturers, the gun companies, and everyone accountable for when these things happen to make sure that we can save lives. So thank you all for being here today as we fight to continue to move our Commonwealth forward, to keep our neighborhoods and communities safe.
Thank you all so much for being here this morning, and we thank all of our members. We will let you know that some of our members will be available, but we do have another press conference to get to. So again, thank you so much for joining us today, and let's go make sure we're delivering for Virginians. God bless you.